and the sage grouse, in sagebrush and rice grass, in bristlecone and pinyon, in the snow-covered ranges and the long, lonely valleys. We call on you tonight to keep us open to see holiness where it may be harder to see it, in the breathing and working and sometimes suffering people of Nevada. Help us to see as holy people who need a job that pays enough, people who need an affordable place to live, people who need health care they can afford, people who need help with their addiction or mental illness, people who need to feel safe from violence and weapons, people who have been harassed and abused who need dignity and respect, children who need a good school to go to with teachers who were treated fairly, refugees who need a safe place of asylum. Help us to see as holy all of us who need a future in a world that sustains life. And then empower us to respond in holy action to work for the common good. Empower Governor Sisolak, these legislators, judges, and officers to push across aisles and barriers, assumptions and stereotypes. Empower them to deliberate honestly, to legislate fairly, and to govern with compassion. Empower them to enflesh the justice of your eternal holiness in people's everyday lives. Holy One, we pray tonight with Dr. King. Eternal God, out of whose mind this great cosmic universe came, we bless you. Help us to see that which is high and noble and good. Help us in the moment of difficult decision. Help us to work with renewed vigor for a peaceful world, a sharing of resources, and a human community that transcends race or color. Holy One, we pray in, with, and under your many names, you who are eternal and fleshed and empowering. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the presentation of colors by the Nevada Army National Guard and Air National Guard Color Guard. Gary Utterback of Fallon will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Gary served on active duty from 1976 to 1997 as a Special Forces officer for the 7th Special Forces Group. He was assigned to a Navy SEAL unit during Desert Storm, where he was awarded a Bronze Star with a Combat V distinction. Gary moved to Nevada following his military career, where he served 5 years as a state veteran representative with the Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation, and another 5 years with the Department of Veteran Affairs.
Follow me, please, in the invocation. After that, we'll go ahead and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Address the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing while Christina Bourne sings the National Anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please join me in thanking the Nevada Army National Guard and Air National Guard Color Guards. Please be seated. The Mark Twain Elementary School Choir will now sing America the Beautiful and God Bless America. Please join me again in thanking Ms. Christine Bourne and the Mark Twain Elementary School Choir. I will now appoint a committee of two consisting of Senator Spearman and Assemblyman Yeager to wait upon Governor Steve Sisolak and escort him into the Assembly chamber. The committee will be about its business. I'd ask everyone at this time to check their cell phones and make sure they're turned off in silence. It'd be a really bad time for your phone to go off.
Okay. Just a okay.
Hello, Governor.
Mr. Speaker, His Excellency, the Honorable Steve Sisolak, Governor of the State of Nevada, and First Lady Kathy Sisolak are at the bar of the Assembly.
The appointed committee will escort Governor Sisolak and First Lady to the Chief Clerk's rostrum. Please rise.
Thank you very much. I was expecting a tough speech, but to follow the Matt Kelly Choir is a really amazing, or the Mark Twain Choir is an absolutely amazing thing, and they were absolutely incredible in their renditions. So thank you for having them here today. Mr. Speaker, Majority Leader, Legislative Leadership, Madam President, distinguished members of the legislature, honorable justices of the Supreme Court, constitutional officers, honored guests, thank you all for joining me here this evening. To my family, particularly our incredible new First Lady, thank you for standing with me on this journey and for guiding me through this next chapter. I also want to take a moment to recognize a great Nevadan who passed away recently. Left behind a legacy of fighting for the Silver State, former Governor, United States Senator Paul Laxalt. The start of the year, the start of a new legislative session, is a moment for reflection, a time to think about the progress that we've made. Tonight I speak to the legislators who will make up the 80th session of the Nevada legislature. And for the first time in Nevada state history and the history of the United States of America, it is a legislature that is majority women. Tonight we are joined by the newly elected and appointed women who took a leap this past year and together made history. Would the women please stand? Our legislative women. Let's give them another round of applause. This is a milestone that's been generations in the making. Thanks to women like Dina Titus, who served not only in this legislature, but has gone on to represent us in the halls of Congress. And tonight we're joined by two of the pioneers who helped make it possible. Barbara Buckley, the first woman to serve as the Speaker of the Assembly, and Sue Wagner, the first woman to serve as Lieutenant Governor of the state of Nevada. Barbara and Sue, would you please stand? To them, to all the women here tonight, and to the women who have served before, including the one and only Debbie Smith, who I know is smiling down on us tonight. This night belongs to you. As a dad of two daughters, I'm especially grateful to know that every little girl in Nevada has role models in all of you. And let me just say, that includes our Lieutenant Governor, Kate Marshall. Kate, I look forward to working with you on behalf of the people of Nevada. And that work is important because for the last decade, our economy and our families have faced some of the hardest economic times. Tonight, we can acknowledge the progress that's been made, and that's important to do. But before we get lost in the celebration, we have to remember our families who haven't felt the recovery. Those who are still working two jobs, who are worried about paying for their kids' college education or a medical bill for their parents. The budget and priorities that I will outline tonight are focused on this objective, making sure that Nevada's economic recovery reaches every family, that our schools prepare every child to reach their potential, that our healthcare system is there for every Nevadan that needs it. The time is here to ask what kind of a state we want to be. It's all on us, Democrats and Republicans alike, to reach higher than we've ever reached, and to ensure economic success makes it to every dinner table in Nevada. And so, while we have work to do, I stand before you, and I am proud to announce that the state of the state is full of opportunity. Let's start with some numbers. We are anticipating general fund revenue of more than $4.3 billion in 2020, up nearly 3% from 2019. And in 2021, it's projected to rise even more, to nearly $4.5 billion. Nevada's economic growth happened under our current revenue structure. And as they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's why this budget that you're being presented with is without any new taxes. Let me say that once again to be clear, this balanced budget does not contain any new taxes. While revenue is up today, our history tells us what economic downturn can bring in terms of pain. At the height of the Great Recession, difficult choices were made, including cuts to education, medical services, and job training, at the very moment people needed them most. Then Speaker Barbara Buckley sponsored legislation to require the governor to reserve 1% of our total anticipated revenue for the rainy day fund. As she put it, creating programs in good times to slash them in bad times is senseless. She's right. This isn't only fiscally responsible, it's the right thing to do. Besides, how can we tell our children to save their money for a rainy day if government doesn't even do it themselves? Last year marked the first time since the law was passed in 2011 that Nevada lived up to that commitment. And today, I pledge to make this a pattern. My budget will include annual savings of $45 million for the next 2 years to preserve and grow our rainy day fund. So that we have it on those dark days when it is truly needed. As we saw in our latest jobs report, businesses are propelling our economy. We now boast of being home to companies like Tesla, Google, Apple, and Amazon, just to name a few. We have welcomed Hyperloop One and a burgeoning drone industry. And we have become ground zero for the fourth industrial revolution that will come with blockchain technology. Last fall, Tesla, Blockchains LLC, and other high-tech neighbors in northern Nevada became part of what is now known as Innovation Park, a place to incubate visionary thinkers, developers, and others who will design our future. And just last month, several of our legislators formed a caucus, a technology caucus, to review the needs of our growing tech sector and promote the success of those ventures. We are also working to ensure that we give students the skill sets required to succeed in these industries, with STEM education being more important than ever before. When it comes to jobs, we're now one of the fastest growing states in the nation. Over the past year, non-farm employment has grown by more than 45,000, with gains in construction and manufacturing, education and health services, trade and transportation, and more. We have our business community to thank, not just the large companies whose arrival in our state brings headlines, but small businesses too, including over 78,000 employers in Nevada with 100 or fewer employees. As governor, I commit to work with small businesses to make it easier for them to thrive by streamlining complicated processes, eliminating red tape and needless regulations, and putting a small business advocate in the office of the Lieutenant Governor. Let's give our small businesses and those who sacrifice to make them a success a big round of applause. One of those rapid growing sectors is the marijuana industry. Excuse the pun of growing sectors. That's why I'm announcing that next week I will sign an executive order creating Nevada's first ever Cannabis Compliance Board, which will ensure this critical part of our state's future economy is positioned to become the gold standard in our nation. We will manage and grow this new industry, another pun, strictly and fairly, and in a way that our state can be proud of. But with new jobs and economic growth comes an added challenge, making sure everyone who wants to live and work here can afford to do so. To that end, I will be supporting the recommendations creating a new program which we will offer $10 million of state tax credits per year for the creation and preservation of affordable housing. I want to thank the chair and members of the committee that studied affordable housing this past interim for their hard work on this proposal. This alone won't solve our housing crisis, but it's an important first step in the right direction, and it will make a real difference in the lives of low-income Nevadans who will have a safe and secure place to call home. At the root of our affordable housing crisis lies another fundamental problem. Too many Nevadans are making too little. That needs a change, and it needs to start by giving Nevadans a well-deserved raise. Even as our economy improves, too many folks are still working two jobs just to get by. Even more are living paycheck to paycheck. That's why I'm committed to working with the legislature and the business and labor communities to raise the minimum wage in our state. It is impossible for an individual, much less a family, to live on $7.25 an hour. And not only that, we need to ensure equal pay for equal work. And to find a consensus on paid leave for Nevada's workers. It's the right thing to do for our families. At the same time, I am recommending a 3% pay increase for our state employees. Our employees, whose work enables us to provide medical and social services to our people, assist new businesses, and keep our roads and highways safe. During the Great Recession, many of them took pay cuts or went without salary increases, but they continued to faithfully serve the state of Nevada. Their skills, knowledge, experience, and devotion have been invaluable to our state. We are in a position to give our workers a raise, and we expect great return on that investment. I also believe that they should be empowered to bargain collectively in the years ahead. And to our state agencies, We must open our doors. It's time to let employees know what options they have. And while on the subject of wages, I want to make one thing clear. This session, I will work to return prevailing wage to public construction jobs, as it was before the 2015 session, and most importantly, for our children's schools. Not only do prevailing wage jobs support highly skilled workers in Nevada, they guarantee our children are learning in a well-constructed, high-quality educational facility. Let's do this and make it done. Let's get it done. As we work to improve our wages and continue to focus on economic development, it's critical that we invest in a workforce that will be job ready. That's why I plan to increase funding for graduate medical education by $2 million per year. Because our medical students of today will be our doctors of tomorrow. We must continue to invest in our higher education system. In addition to funding for student enrollment growth, I am recommending funding for 2 new buildings: a health and sciences building at the College of Southern Nevada, and a new education building at the Nevada State College. When we invest in building these places of learning, we create educators and medical professionals of tomorrow. And I appreciate NSHE's efforts to improve our overall graduation rates and student success. Obtaining that degree or certificate is challenging for many students. That's why we will increase funding for Nevada scholarship programs to open new opportunities for thousands of Nevada students to earn their degrees and workforce credentials. But there's another element of higher education that too often doesn't get the respect that it deserves: apprenticeship and job training programs. Success doesn't always have to start with a 4-year degree. Quality job training programs, apprenticeships, business partnerships, and community college degrees can help Nevadans of all ages get the skills they need for the jobs that are out there today. That's why I am recommending increased funding for career and technical education to serve an additional 2,000 students. So far, we've talked about a number of important issues, but there is no issue more important to me than making sure that every child in every classroom gets a quality education. And you know what? That starts with having a great educator at the front of that classroom. These are the people that we are entrusting to prepare our kids for the future. They need to be treated as the professionals that they are and respected for the job that they do. Please join me in showing them our appreciation with another round of applause. And while applause is nice, our educators deserve more than a round of applause. They deserve a raise. It has been over a decade since the state last directly funded a raise for our K through 12 educators. Tonight, that's going to change. Legislators, I'm asking you to stand with me and stand with our educators by including them in the 3% pay raise for state employees for the first time in 12 years. Right now, too many teachers have been forced to dig into their own pockets to make sure their students have basic supplies like markers, pencils, and erasers. It's a beautiful sign of their commitment, but it's grossly unfair. So, I am proposing additional funding to reimburse teachers for supplies that they need in the classrooms, raising the total from $100 per teacher to $180 per teacher. In our budget, I am also including a one-time appropriation for Washoe County to correct an $8.6 million mistake that was made in the past. But to be perfectly clear, so everyone understands, those kind of mistakes will not be tolerated under my watch. The time for Band-Aids and short-term fixes is over. I also look forward to working with legislative leadership to review decades-old Nevada plan to ensure that tax dollars for education follow the student. We have to make sure that our statewide funding formula is equitable for every student in every county. My recommended increase in funding for the new Nevada plan will increase the funding from $36 million per year to $70 million per year, meaning that an additional 28,200 at-risk students will receive the academic support that they need, deserve, no matter what school that they attend. Additionally, I am recommending for the biennium $44.7 million to ensure access to quality preschool development programs, $63.4 million for Read by Grade 3, approximately $100 million for Nevada Zoom schools, and $50 million for Victory School programs. Because not only do we ask our educators to teach our students, we rely on them to keep our students safe as well. The need for safer schools is a dark reality in the world in which we live today, and we need to fund those initiatives. I want to thank the statewide School Safety Task Force for their hard work in identifying key proposals to enhance security at our schools, including more police officers, and funding for additional social and behavioral health workers. We cannot expect to successfully address violence and issues in our schools unless we invest in people like Erica Marquez, who is with us here tonight. Erica is a counselor at Clayton Middle School in Reno. By doing her job every day, counselors like Erica are preventing violence, helping students, and saving lives. Erica, please stand to be recognized. That's why a portion of the 10% marijuana tax will go towards preventing violence in our schools. As your governor, the safety and security of our families is my most important job. Our country is plagued by the epidemic gun violence. something Nevadans have come to understand all too well. We are still reeling from the losses we suffered on 1 October, and now we're going to take action. I am working with the legislature to implement common sense background checks on all firearm sales in Nevada. We will outlaw bump stocks. And we will address the threat gun violence poses to victims of domestic violence in the state of Nevada. Those subjected to restraining orders should not be allowed to buy a firearm. Back in 2016, Nevadans voted to close a dangerous and deadly loophole in our law that makes it far too easy for convicted criminals, domestic abusers, and others with dangerous histories to buy firearms at gun shows and online with no background checks and no questions asked. It's long past time we listen to the voters and enact these changes, because background checks save lives. Along with the need for a safe Nevada is the need for a healthy Nevada. As public servants, we have a responsibility to promote the health and well-being of Nevadans who sent us here. Let me start by saying, as long as I'm in office, Nevada will continue to support and defend the Affordable Care Act, including all protections for those with pre-existing conditions. That's why I am proud that Nevada has signed on to an amicus brief asking the courts to prevent the Trump administration from rolling back the Affordable Care Act's requirement that employers include birth control coverage in their health plans. As your governor, I am committed to adequately funding women's health care. Currently, Nevada ranks last in the nation in the number of women who have a dedicated health care provider. We don't fare much better when it comes to cervical cancer screenings either, or other forms of family planning. That's going to change. And that's why we will be allocating $3 million per year to provide more of these life-saving services statewide. Lives like the life of Reno native Ann Mackey, who can't be with us here tonight, but who in her early 20s started to have health complications. So she scheduled an appointment at Planned Parenthood. During that visit, they found early signs of cervical cancer that had gone undetected. Today, 20 years later, Ann is doing well and credits that Planned Parenthood visit with saving her life. We have to make sure that quality health care continues to be offered to every Nevadan, not just those who can afford it. Our state took an incredible step when we expanded Medicaid. It gave the chance for hundreds of thousands of Nevadans to go to the doctor and gain the coverage that they needed. My recommended budget represents the largest investment of general fund dollars to the Department of Health and Human Services in Nevada state history. Here's how. First, by increasing Medicaid reimbursement rates for neonatal and pediatric intensive care units, we can provide for our youngest patients and make sure that they have access to the quality health care services that they need. Second, we will reduce the wait list for children with autism. So that they can get the assistance that they need. And third, we will increase access to mental health services. Upping the hours that our mobile crisis units operate. And finally, too many families and individuals struggle with substance abuse. We can and should do more and make the healthcare system work for everyone. People like Nikki and Caden Yowell from Winnemucca, who are here with us tonight. Nikki lost her husband, and Caden lost his dad to substance abuse. What Nikki and Caden have faced is unimaginable. But sadly, it's all too common. We can no longer allow this epidemic to plague our communities and destroy our families. It's time to fix it. Please stand. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to share your story with the state of Nevada. This investment will let community behavioral health centers expand from 3 to 10, allowing them to serve additional adults and children with substance and abuse issues. But it's not enough just to put numbers on paper. I'm committed to working with our legislators, the Department of Health and Human Services, and community stakeholders to ensure that this funding gets down to the Nevadans that need it most. In the coming weeks, I will create a Patient Protection Commission. Our goal will be to take a comprehensive look at the Nevada healthcare system, to evaluate what we're doing well, and more importantly, what we can do better, including protecting Nevadans from being gouged on prescription drug prices. Now let me turn to another important issue. I'd like to ask all of our active military and veterans, including Brigadier General William Burks and Lieutenant Colonel retired Gary Utterback, who led us in the pledge, to please stand and be recognized. Sadly, the plight of our veterans is too often ignored. These are the heroes who risk their lives for our country and our state, and yet they don't always receive the support they need when they come home. For example, we have an estimated 5,000 underserved veterans in the Fallon and Prump service areas, a number that triples if we consider family members that are eligible for that service. And we know that veterans, like others in rural areas, have difficulty accessing health care services. They also face poverty and homelessness and substance abuse. But services are available only if they can access them. That's why we are adding additional veteran service officers to help them access the federal benefits they deserve, which is more than $114 million in federal funds annually, that will improve the quality and care of their life for our veterans and their families. We also need to look out for our fellow Nevadans who need a little help to get by. From our foster families, to our elderly residents who rely on food from Meals on Wheels. I want you to know that you are not forgotten and you are not left out of this budget. This year, we will increase funding for Meals on Wheels by more than $800,000. Allowing us to feed over 8,700 seniors and eliminate the current wait list for Meals on Wheels. And then, for the over 2,000 foster family homes across our state, we're going to increase funding to help foster parents better cover the cost of child care. There's another conversation that we need to have, and it's about our criminal justice system. We cannot continue to do the same thing and expect different results. We can be tough on crime and still reduce recidivism. We can lock up violent criminals and work to identify the low-level offenders who are ready to earn their second chance. That's why I am recommending we add new staff who will focus on supporting mental health and substance abuse programs and handling the increased caseload in the parole and probation division. This will be coupled with an increased investment in a pilot program aimed at providing educational and training skills for inmates. First championed by then Senator Aaron Ford. In the first year of this program, over 80% of the inmates enrolled graduated with either credits going towards a traditional degree or a pre-apprenticeship experience. I'd like to recognize the special guests I have here with us this evening. Tonight, Professor Kevin Mitchell of the College of Southern Nevada. Thank you. Professor Mitchell has years of experience teaching the CSN prison education program and currently teaches at High Desert State Prison, which the First Lady and I recently toured. He has seen his students reintegrate into our community and start productive careers. Professor Mitchell, please stand. Thank you. This additional investment will reduce the rate of recidivism, save our state tax dollars, and make our streets safer. We are all lucky to live in the most beautiful state in the country, hands down. But to keep it that way, we need to recognize the serious environmental threats facing our state. Let me be clear. I will not spend a single second debating the reality of climate change. Climate change is real, and it is irresponsible to ignore the sciences that proves it, and the lives it has already impacted and upended, especially across the West. As governor, I'm committed to making Nevada a clean energy leader, not only to combat the effects of climate change, but for future generations, but also for the abundance of green-collar jobs it can create right now. Nevada used to lead the nation in producing renewable energy. Sadly, we've fallen behind. Take our renewable portfolio standard. We used to be #1, and now we're not even in the top 10. That's why I strongly support the goal of achieving a minimum 50% in renewable energy by 2030. And I know we can meet these standards without raising the cost of electricity for ratepayers in our state. It's time to make it happen. In 2017, the legislature proved they have the political will to reclaim our spot as the nation's energy leader. When you send me that bill, this governor is going to sign it. Because allowing Nevada to lead when it comes to renewable energy isn't just good for job growth or energy rates, it helps preserve and protect Nevada's incredible natural beauty. We have some of the nation's most amazing public lands in our state. These lands contribute to the state's unique beauty, connect us to our past, and are the driving force behind our thriving eco-tourism industry. We must continue to protect these irreplaceable treasures. And finally, let me make something perfectly clear. Not 1 ounce of nuclear waste will ever reach Yucca Mountain while I'm governor. Not on my watch. We will work hand in hand with our congressional delegation and use every resource possible to stop the federal government from turning our state into their nuclear waste dump. It is not going to happen. One thing remains clear across all these proposals. When you invest in Nevadans, the return can be immense. That's why I am opening a governor's office for new Americans, which will support our newest neighbors, help them navigate government services, build new businesses, and let them know they are truly welcome here in the state of Nevada. We'll also provide assistance to DACA recipients and applicants like a dreamer I met on the campaign trail named Daisy. Daisy was brought to Nevada as a child. She didn't have documentation, but she cared for her community and worked hard. And when Governor Sandoval did the right thing and signed a bill in 2015 that allowed dreamers to obtain teaching licenses, she jumped right on it. Today, she's a special education teacher at a public school in Clark County, specializing in children with autism to realize their dream. I know Daisy is watching on TV tonight, so please join me in giving her a round of applause. Thank you, and thank you, Daisy. The Governor's Office for New Americans is for people like Daisy, who invest in the future of our community every day. We need to make sure each and every voice is heard at the Capitol, in our communities, and at the ballot box. This past November, Nevada made it clear that they support automatic voter registration. It's on us to get it done. So I look forward to making this a reality, alongside Secretary of State Barbara Sagaski and the legislature. Thank you, Barbara. Voting is a fundamental right, and we should be looking for even more ways to make sure Nevadans that are eligible can exercise that right, which is why I am committed to working with the legislature and local election officials to expand early voting. And to implement same-day voter registration. And I'm committed to making sure every Nevadan is counted in our census, because if one of us is left off, that hurts all of us. That's why I am recommending additional funding for in-state efforts to ensure all Nevadans are counted. The proposals laid out tonight are presented with the goal of ensuring that every family sitting around every dinner table sees the benefit of the economic recovery that only those at the top have felt thus far. Those in this room might not agree on everything. For example, some here might cheer for the wolf pack. Some might cheer for the rebels. But I think we can all agree that the Golden Knights are the best hockey team in the country. These chambers were built to house debates worthy of the Nevadans we represent and the futures they have ahead. But in those debates over the paths we take, we must not forget what can happen when civil discourse turns into partisan gamesmanship. It's the people, our citizens, who ultimately lose. Look no further than what's happening in Washington, D.C., where federal workers, including 3,000 of our fellow citizens, have become pawns in a political battle. Nevadans deserve better, and we owe it to them and to this great institution to show to the rest of the nation how this is done. So I have a message for every legislator that's here in this chamber tonight. Every one of you, 63. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we've got a busy 4 months ahead of us. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're going to be spending a lot of time together, you and I. I want you to know that my door is open. It is always open. We need good ideas from everyone, every single one of you. That's how we work together. That's how we get things done. That's how we build an even stronger Nevada. Because I know when every Nevadan has the opportunity to succeed, our state will reap the benefits. That will be my mission as your governor. And the chance to see it through is the honor of a lifetime. Thank you all. God bless you. God bless the great state of Nevada. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a great evening. And God bless the state of Nevada and each and every one of you. Have a great night. Thank you.
Senator Woodhouse. Senator Woodhouse.
Mr. Chair, I move that the committee extend a vote of thanks to Governor Sisolak for his timely, able, and constructive message.
Assemblywoman Tolles.
I second that.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The appointed committee will escort Governor Sisolak to the bar of the Assembly. Please rise. The appointed committee will escort the justices of the Supreme Court and judges of the Court of Appeals to the bar of the Assembly.